about a community fair focused on promoting wellness and raising awareness against harmful health choices. And Darryl St. George, a Navy veteran and history teacher, joins us to discuss the Student Against Destructive Decisions program.
It has changed, it's evolved, and it's now become Students Against Destructive Decisions, which I'm very happy about that because it now has broadened the mission statement of the club and the things that we address. We don't just address drinking and driving, we address texting and driving, but not just driving related issues, bullying, or the current drug epidemic that we're faced with.
And we revisit the segment on Palamine. Hello, I'm Art Flesher from Suffolk County's Health Department's Division of Community Mental Hygiene. I'm your host for Something of Substance, our monthly video magazine. Welcome back. Each month we show how substance abuse, mental illness, and developmental delays affect you, your kids, and your community. We'll also give you a few examples of how services in Suffolk County help people find the inner resources they need to tackle their problems.
Before, addiction and depression kept me from living my life. And now, every step I take in recovery benefits everyone. There are many options that make the road to recovery more accessible. It begins with the first step. Join the Voices for Recovery.
The Copaigue Community Cares Coalition, in conjunction with the Town of Babylon, hosted a family wellness and awareness event at Tanner Park. Local community health and prevention resources were on hand as live music entertained the visiting public.
Our mission is to bring information to our community, information from brushing your teeth to getting treatment for drug addiction, and to make people feel comfortable looking for that information. So we invited vendors to come to a free entertainment for the community, free entertainment from the community. It's from the high schools and town entertainment, and just to make people feel comfortable and realize that the community is here for us.
Well, this event came about because we wanted to energize the town, and starting from the one town, we decided to go into the entire town of Babylon. And the response has been miraculous.
To get ACTS to come to the table, we went to all of the superintendents of the high schools in the town of Babylon, and we asked them to send us their elite entertainment. So we have a jazz group from Amityville, we have a flag dancers from Wyandanch, we have a magic show from West Babylon, and we have the hip hop group from Copaigue. So all together we're encompassing the town, and we're inviting the town residents to come and listen to their local entertainment.
I think that a community event like this is important because it's less intrusive. I think sometimes when we put on events that are drug and alcohol specific, some people are a little bit hesitant to come.
We like to bring community events to local communities, and this one in particular is coming to the town of Babylon instead of just Copaigue. So community events to us makes people realize that we're here to help. We're here to give information, we're here to get information, and when we sit around a table, we have the police department here, we have the fire department here, and we all become a community that is intertwined.
Community is important because it does take a village. It takes a village I want my neighbors to know what my kids are doing, you want your neighbors to know what your kids are doing, and that's how a community, we have to get together, we have to fight this epidemic. It's a fight, it's a war.
So you need to be able to bring the community together. When I was growing up, it was common that something that happened at my house was known down the block. You couldn't do anything on the block without everyone on the block knowing about it and making sure that you were looking out for the other family's kids. Communities play a big part in taking care of our own. So, I'll go back to that idea of it takes a village. This is a we problem, and it requires a we solution, and communities are crucial.
I'm here to lend support to Terry Kroll and all my friends in the, in the movement, because there are coalitions all over Long Island and we really need to band together.
One of the reasons we wanted to bring everybody together is because each individual town is a community in itself, but the town of Babylon is a community made up of all these little towns. So we thought this brings everybody together in a beautiful environment at the beach. We're all about the beach. We're the South Shore of Long Island, and we want people to realize that the community is here for them. And so we went to the town of Babylon businesses, we went to the treatment centers, we went to the health centers, and we asked them to come and be with the residents from the community.
This is really a family day out, and people from all walks of life can come to this. I've seen a lot of little kids here. I've seen some different events with the martial arts and the magician, and I think it's a great family day out. And at the same time, we're able to give them some information that perhaps they wouldn't have been exposed to.
One of the things that we thought was very important when it comes to drug prevention in particular is that people are not ready to step up to the table and say they need information. So we decided to make it easy for them. So if you were to look outside, you'll see our Chinese auction baskets. We have, I think, 50 Chinese auction baskets, all donated by the town of Babylon, and we're running a free raffle. So the free raffle, how do you get your raffle ticket? You go to each one of the tables and you get information. So if you were embarrassed to go up and get information, or there's a stigma attached to it that you have, you can go up, get information, get your card stamped, and get a free raffle.
So I am 100% in support of these kind of events. I think that you end up tapping into a group of people that perhaps you wouldn't get otherwise. So we need more of these.
Because I think people realize we need to do positive things and to show people that we can have events, we can do things. You don't need alcohol, you don't need drugs, and we're all here together just having a good day.
Once a person has become addicted to a substance, it's very difficult. It's possible to recover from it, but it's very hard. The idea of being able to get to a person before they ever engage in addiction, the success rate is much higher if you can get a person to never engage in drug or alcohol usage, as opposed to having them get into dependence and then trying to pull them out. The theory being that we're pulling them out of the river. Prevention says, let's find out where they're getting in the river so we can get them before they get in the river.
And let's get to the kids before they get to drugs.
To prevent drug addiction has to start early on. One of the things the coalitions in our area do is we look to educate people, and we're big on prevention so that we're not losing our children, we're not losing our loved ones in such a rapid rate that we are right now.
Prevention is in the deepest part of my heart. I feel like we have to get to the schools, get to the little ones before it even gets to that point. It's part of one of the things. There's a stigma because it's a mental health issue too, and we don't like to talk about that, but that's part of it.
Working with the Prevention Resource Center has been vital to the coalitions because prevention is the key.
Every day I hear of deaths, of overdoses, and I have grandchildren. I want my grandchildren to live, and I want them to live drug-free and healthy, and that's why we're doing this.
Communities are important because the reality of it is that anytime that we are facing issues, the issues are usually not individual issues, they're systemic issues, and it needs to be responded to in a systemic way.
Moving forward in the Copaigue Coalition, this event is a wonderful thing, but it's just a stepping stone. We want to become more active in the schools, more active with parents, making parents understand they can say no. No, you can't have a party if there's alcohol served. No, I will not let you stay with people who are dealing with drugs, etc. And so we're trying to get our voice heard and give parents and children a voice to say no.
We'd like to thank the Town of Babylon, Copaigue Community Coalition, the student music groups, the Copaigue Police Department, and many participating agencies for giving their time to that day. For more information about Copaigue Coalitions, please visit their website at www.copaigecares.org. For information on this and other community coalition building events in Suffolk County, please contact the Prevention Resource Center at area code 631-608-5014. Up next, Darryl St. George from Northport High School joins us to discuss the SAD program. We'll be right back. Darryl St. George is a history teacher and the SAD advisor at Northport High School. He joins us today to discuss the mission and effort of this student-oriented prevention program. Darryl, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Art. Thank you for having me.
Great. I know that SAD's been around for over 30 years, and in fact, I remember earlier, it used to be called Students Against Drunk Driving. Tell us about it now.
Well, as you said, it's been around for a number of decades, and it has changed. It's evolved, and it's now become Students Against Destructive Decisions, which I'm very happy about that because it now has broadened the mission statement of the club and the things that we address. We don't just address drinking and driving, we address texting and driving, but not just driving-related issues, bullying, or the current drug epidemic that we're faced with. So the mission statement has really broadened as a result of the change in the name.
Mm-hmm. And the students embrace that?
Yes, the students certainly embrace it.
How did you personally get involved with SAD? What was your motivation?
So I actually went to school where I teach, and I had really no interest in SAD when I was a student. And then I started teaching at the school, and a number of years into teaching, I took a leave of absence and enlisted in the United States Navy. Mm-hmm. I deployed to Afghanistan, and it was while I was in Afghanistan, one of our missions was the confiscation of poppy. Afghanistan produces over 90% of the world's heroin. Most of the heroin in this country, though, comes from Mexico.
Right.
But while I was in Afghanistan, fulfilling that mission, I had lost a former student to a heroin overdose. And when I returned from my deployment, my brother had been struggling with the use of heroin. He had gone to a rehab, and when he came out of the rehab, his tolerance had been substantially lowered, and he died of an overdose. It wasn't heroin, actually. It was a combination of Suboxone and Xanax to help him get off the heroin. Mm-hmm. So that's really how I became personally involved, when I had been confronted with a personal loss. And then it was very difficult for me not to get involved.
I'm sorry for your loss, and I hear how important this is to you, and I'm sure it's affected a lot of the work that you've done with the students. What do you hope students will gain from participating in a SAD chapter?
My hope is that they'll begin to come together and they'll really start to combat this epidemic that we're faced with, because really, this affects everybody. I've seen it affect my fellow veterans. Veterans
Sure.
are struggling with this because in some cases it starts with prescription pills. People are being prescribed this, and then it progressively leads to heroin. But especially it's affecting kids. It's affecting young people. And my hope is that the student body will really take the initiative and combat it, because they're on the front line, so to speak.
And what kind of activities are they involved in?
We're involved in a number of activities. The one that I'm most proud of and most excited about is a summit that we recently had in January. We called it the SAD Summit, where we invited a number of school districts throughout the town of Huntington to come to Northport to talk about the problem. Because what we're seeing is that the kids in Northport are not just hanging out with the kids
Sure.
in Northport doing drugs, they're hanging out with kids in neighboring districts. And it was a great success, and we've had a series of follow-up meetings since then, and our hope is to continue to build on that momentum and have a second summit in this coming fall. And our hope is, and that's why we're very grateful to be on this program right now, is to really expand the scope. We'd like to see more school districts get involved.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea how many districts have SAD chapters at this point?
That's a really good question. I'm not too sure. I think that every high school, I shouldn't say every, I think that a lot of high schools have a SAD club, but what we've learned from the summit is that each school has a different kind of point of view when it comes to SAD. Some SAD focuses more on collaborating with MAD, which is where it kind of came from, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Some of the SAD clubs focusing more on bullying. Mm-hmm. But our hope is that through the summits is that we can kind of coordinate and bring the clubs together to focus more on the drug epidemic.
That's great, and it also gives each chapter a resource. By talking to other chapters, everybody learns together.
That's right.
And good ideas get used elsewhere, because no one wants to keep their good ideas to themselves. We all want to share them.
That's right, and what we see is by coming together, we're stronger. You know, and that's really for me, what it comes down to, because having been personally affected by it, my motivation is to make sure that another family doesn't have to go through what my family went through, and that's why we focus on prevention. And the more people involved, the greater the awareness and the more action we can take.
Now, I'm sure your students learn a lot from you, and just from hearing you now, I can see that. But have you learned things from your students?
I have. I've learned a lot from my students. I was very naive, I think, before I got involved with SAD. I just kind of mistakenly assumed that a lot of kids just experiment. And they do, but what I began to see was that there were kids coming into SAD that, you know, they're what's the term for it? I think it's straight edge. They don't
use it all.
Yeah, they don't use it all, and that was an eye-opening thing for me, a very positive eye-opening to see that kids they don't do drugs. They have no interest, no desire. They don't want to be involved in it. But we've also had kids who have been involved but are looking to, you know, recover. They're trying to make the right decisions now. So I think the biggest thing that I've taken away from the kids is just their resilience, their compassion, their desire to make the community better. It really has been a wonderful thing to see the kids and the good that they want to do.
Yeah, volunteerism and kids has an amazing impact, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. And for me as a teacher, it sustains me. It keeps me going. You know, it's a source of inspiration.
Now, obviously the kids are talking to other kids. Why is that model so successful, do you think?
I think peer education is probably one of the most effective ways of getting a point across, because they're going to be more inclined to listen to somebody their own age. Particularly if it's a younger kid with an older kid, like for instance the freshmen and the seniors.
Right.
They look up to these kids. They're role models, so they're going to be more inclined to listen to what they have to say versus what I have to say. So that's why I think peer education is so effective.
And of the kids that you've had the pleasure of working with in this project, have you seen changes that have occurred in their lives because of their involvement?
I have. You know, I'll share a story with you, but I'll keep the people anonymous.
Sure.
I had a student that wasn't directly involved with SAD. She would come and go, and she clearly was struggling. And I remember one day she came to class, and she was under the influence. So luckily I had another teacher in the room with me, and I called the nurse, and the nurse came and checked her out. We moved forward with that particular issue, and she was really angry at me initially. She had a lot of resentment that I had done that.
Sure.
But it was the right thing to do, and it's what needed to be done. And eventually she started seeing the drug and alcohol counselor at our school, and she still was kind of resentful towards me. But as far as I'm concerned, I did what I needed to do. And I bumped into her mother about a month ago, and her mother came up to me and gave me a big hug and said that her daughter was doing really well. So that story for me kind of reinforces again the idea that my brother's death wasn't in vain, that I was able to help this young lady. And I wouldn't have been involved if it wasn't for my brother. So I'm okay with her being a little angry at me for a little while, because she's doing okay now.
Darryl, I'm sure as people are watching this, they may be interested in getting involved in a SAD chapter in their school district. How would you recommend they go about doing that?
So most schools, as I said, have a SAD chapter, have a SAD club. So I would suggest either looking for the SAD advisor at the school, or getting in touch with their guidance counselor, the SAD website, and then of course our Facebook or our Twitter account, especially if they're interested in getting involved in the upcoming summit in the fall.
Great, and I'm sure you would also add, if I didn't prompt you, that if they don't have a SAD chapter, maybe they should ask why, huh?
I would agree, certainly, definitely.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Art.
Thanks. Up next, in our archive segment, we revisit the segment on Palomine. Stay tuned.
They'll be fine, I hope.
What if you could prevent a young person from getting hurt or killed?
What should I do?
If you could turn back the clock and stop an underage drinking party from ever happening? Now you can. Pick up the phone and call 1-866-UNDER-21. It's your community, your call, and it's completely anonymous.
Palomine is a comprehensive therapeutic equine program that uses horses to facilitate growth, learning, and healing. They serve a wide array of populations that include both children and adults.
Palomine is a not-for-profit organization, and it is a comprehensive therapeutic equine program that uses horses to facilitate growth, learning, and healing. We provide a comprehensive therapeutic equine program using horses as our tool to facilitate emotional growth, learning, and healing.
Palomine is a great place for our community because everyone works together and we all come together. We're like a family and anyone's welcomed here. And when you're here, there's really nowhere else you'd want to be.
Our population includes children and adults with disabilities, those who have been abused or neglected, those with mental illness, those who have been troubled with chemical abuse or substance abuse, our returning military and their families, as well as the coalitions for domestic violence. Palomine Summer Camp is for students who are already at Palomine. There's about 60 students during the 2 weeks of summer camp. It's grant funded. And we incorporate lots of different things during summer camp. There's lots of outside facilitators that come in. So yes, we do involve the horses every day, but there are also things like art and music therapy.
This room is primarily used in the summertime for the camp program. And what we have is we have 4 groups. We have a work study group, we have a J-step group, and we have the students that sometimes come in during the course of the year. They're coming here. So what I do in the course of rotating these groups, they come in here, I have a project for them to do. What I want them to do is just have confidence, have fun, and I want them to be able to walk home with something that reflects what they had as an experience at Palomine.
There are llamas that come onto the property as well as other small animals. There's different puppeteers. There are day trips. We take the kids to Saratoga Racetrack or different field trips that we go on.
In terms of how the animals are helping people with mental health or substance abuse issues, I think really the animals are so forgiving. First of all, most of the time they're quiet, they don't speak. I mean, they empower people.
Mostly what's therapeutic about horses is that they don't talk back to you. It's kind of like you can just say anything and they feel your feelings. Like they sense when you're feeling sad or scared. And it's kind of nice to know that it's not like you're just talking to like a blank wall, and that it's actually listening and understanding how you're feeling, and it just kind of calms me.
Horses really do a tremendous amount, not just by improving their self-esteem, but improving their posture and balance, and improving their will to live and their desire to further their education and go, further in their workforce. It really runs the gamut.
For young people, it's the size of the animal sometimes, that the accomplishment of them being able to hold a llama, walk a llama, and have that experience. But I think otherwise, the unconditional love that these animals can express in their own ways, and I think the peacefulness of being able to just connect in whatever level is comfortable for that person, and it is very uninhibiting.
Palomine is a really important place to me, mainly because I've been through some tough times, and Lisa Gaddy has provided a program for me that helped me through those times and gave me a place that I can call a second home, and that I can be here and be able to trust the people and know that I'm safe.
Palomine provides a 2-week summer camp program every summer. What we're seeing here today is we're in our 2nd week, actually, and our summer camp is really traditionally a very inclusive environment, which includes our Palomine students who come here on a daily or a yearly basis, as well as those who are typically developing. It is geared for socialization and recreation, as well as collaborations with many other people who are around the island who help us out during the year, as well as during the week of summer.
The work study program is a program that
the young teens, we all work together and get jobs done, and we learn responsibility. And
what I get out of working here is it builds my confidence of just helping these kids that need help in this world, and it just makes me feel good just to give something back to them.
What I get out of working here at Palomine, I get out like seeing other people happy that they came here. And the feeling that they're happy here is just amazing to see that the horses can change their lives and that we're helping them change it.
Many people have came to Palomine for different reasons, and usually in the end it changes their lives completely. I've seen deaf kids that never talked, have said their first word while working with horses and around people. And it's just such a great experience and brings a smile to everyone's faces. I've gotten a lot out of working here at Palomine. I've learned a tremendous amount of responsibility. I've learned how to work with people better. I've got to experience things that kids my age usually don't get to.
Horses are a tremendously empowering animal, and because of their ability to not judge, often for their first time in their lives, our children and adults are not judged based on their disability or their issue that they come to us with. And when they walk into the arena, whether it's an unmounted program or whether it's a riding program that they experience here at Palomine, whether it's the summer camp or whether it's, a traditional program during the year, because of the horses, for the first time, they're often put on that level playing field.
Palomine gives everybody equal footing. It doesn't matter what you're about, what you might have as a disability, whatever. Everybody who comes here is given respect and opportunity. And the progress is astounding.
We'd like to thank Palomine for letting us visit their program. For more information about the services they have to offer, please give them a call at area code 631-348-1389 or email them at info@palomine.org. We'd like to thank our viewers for tuning in to Something of Substance. Our video magazine is a public resource, and we're eager to hear your feedback as well as any suggestions you may have for future show topics. For all inquiries and concerns, please contact me at art.flesher@suffolkcountynY.gov. I'm your host, Art Flesher. Join us again next month for more of Something of Substance.